about Youngu Verma, but I'm doing it with a heavy heart. I'm sorry. I feel a sense of guilt that during the last weeks prior to his death, I could not see him. Despite Shireen asking me many times to call him or visit him, the nitty-gritty of Ramadan came in the way, and I kept on postponing, thinking that I would call him or visit him the next day or the next. Then, after recovering from the holiday season, I picked up the phone to call him. I wanted to apologize for not getting in touch and allowing such a long time to pass. While I was dialing his number, the landline rang, and I saw the last name Verma on the call display, and thought in the Urdu phrase, "Badi lambi umar pai hai Verma sahab." I had no idea how cruel the irony of the phrase and how sad the news would be. There was someone else on the phone who identified himself as Gopal Verma, his nephew, and told me that Youngu Verma had been sick and taken to hospital. He was trying in his politeness to blunt the shock. I still thought I'd go and visit him right away, but then Gopal dropped the bombshell. Youngu Verma had died. The man who was alive in my mind, in my imagination, in my thoughts a moment ago, suddenly no longer existed. It was a tremendous shock, intensified by my sense of regret. I had ignored to connect with him in the few weeks when perhaps he needed friends more than any other time. Now it was too late. Art meant everything to Youngu Verma. It was his entire universe, his cosmos. He sculpted, painted it, sketched it, drew it. He lived for it, breathed, ate, drank, slept, and woke up for it. Art was his faith, his conviction, his iman. The long life that I had wished on seeing his name on the call display would continue to live in his art. I first met Youngu Verma more than 15 years ago when Nusrat had invited us for dinner, and Rashid Nadeem brought him to that dinner, and I saw someone who looked like a quintessential Muslim clergy, a long beard, a topi, an ajkal-like coat, and I whispered to Rashid, I said, "Rashid, the meeting was going so well, we were having so much fun, and now you are bringing this very Parsa-looking man in this meeting. We have to control ourselves now, we can't say anything." And Youngu Verma overheard that. And that's when our friendship started, because he quoted Ghalib's couplet describing the misunderstanding, and he said, "Hain kawakib kuch nazar aate hain kuch dete hain dhoka ye bazi gar khula." Youngu Verma loved Ghalib. It seemed that no matter what the subject of conversation, he would always evoke Ghalib. He was not only an admirer of Ghalib, but also had more concrete connection with him. And as Khalid Suhail has mentioned, he had sculpted a large statue of Ghalib which still adorns Jami Millia in Delhi. He would describe his link with Ghalib in the verse, "Gova nahi, pewan se nikale hue tujhe, Kaabe se in buton ko bhi nisbat hai dur ki," and then would say, "Main buti to banata hu." He belonged to that group of Ghalib's admirers who unabashedly would say, with a little play of Ghalib's Misra, "Hum tarafdar hain Ghalib ke, sukhan fahm nahi." Although I know that he was the most sukhan fahm among the people, so far as Ghalib is concerned. Youngu Verma was a visionary, a dreamer and a philosopher. He was not a calculating businessman. He lived a life full of events, and his events were full of life, even in his aloofness. He was an artist by temperament, an artist born in a goldsmith family who chose to play with clay instead of rolling in gold. He was a true artist, whether the professional art circles gave him his rightful place or not. He was a living proof that there's a difference between wisdom and knowledge. Wisdom does not depend on how much schooling you got under your belt, but the insights you develop in living a life to its fullest, in the chosen field of your passion. His art gave him the wisdom no books could ever give anyone. He could not he was his hospitality was phenomenal.
Yeah.
He had a small place, but he would always invite more people than could fit in that little place, and always insist that they have something to eat. If more people came than the food was enough, there'll be more shorba in the food, but he would still entertain everybody. Whenever you called him, the first thing he would say, "Bas aap aa jaiye." Never hesitated inviting people to his house and entertain them. I would just say in the end, there's so much we can learn from him. We can learn modesty. We can learn to appreciate the preciousness of the moment that we are together. Amir jama hai ahbab, hal dil keh le, fir iltifat dil dostan rahe na rahe. We can learn from him that there are more important things in life than chasing money and material success. Learn that real richness is the richness of the soul. It does not matter how big your house, your car, or your TV screen is. What matters is how big is your heart. His death has shaken us into realization of our own mortality. He was still working on many projects, planning exhibitions, seeking a sanctuary, the studio that Khalid mentioned, where he could create art. But the moving finger of time pointed at him. His work was not done. But a true artist's work is never done. I want to conclude by quoting a few lines from H.W. Longfellow that perhaps sum up the life of someone just like him. Art is long and time is fleeting, and our hearts, though stout and brave, still like muffled drums are beating funeral marches to the grave. Lives of great men all remind us we can make our lives sublime, and departing, leave behind us footprints on the sand of time. For Youngu Verma, too, the passionate and compulsive demands of art were long, and the time on earth not enough. But he will continue to live in our memories, in the cosmos that fascinated him, and in his art, and will leave his footprints on the sands of time. Thank you.